George Abraham speaking. There's another factor or there's another aspect of the language that goes into the making of a good language. That is, in addition to grammar and a good vocabulary, you also need to have an idiomatic style. An idiomatic style. Idiomatic means using, containing, or denoting expressions that are natural to a native speaker. Now, that's the definition as per the Oxford Dictionary. So that includes words, phrases, idioms, the way words are connected. You must have come across the expression, he has an idiomatic command of the language. He has a fluent idiomatic, he speaks fluent idiomatic English, and so on. So, idiomatic means it is not bookish or stilted. The English sounds natural. It comes the way it would come from the mouth of a native speaker. That's the meaning of idiomatic. Now, this is an important aspect of the English language. In the late 60s, in my village, a car came. In those days, cars were rare. All the village boys crowded round it. What happened was that the car had broken down, and two men inside, they opened the bonnet and they were peeping into it, trying to repair it. And a lady and two kids, they were standing outside waiting for the car to be repaired. And a girl, some 10 or 12 years old, wearing a white frock, she was leaning against the car. I've told you 100 times not to lean against the car. You will pick up all the dust on it. You will pick up all the dust on it. Now, from that one sentence, it was clear that the lady had an idiomatic command of the English language. A person without an idiomatic command of the language would have said, your frock will get dirty or something of that sort, some words to that effect. Now, in both cases, the meaning is conveyed. If you say that your frock will get dirty, or if you say you will pick up all the dust on it, both these convey the same meaning, but the latter, that is, you will pick up all the dirt on it, is idiomatic. That is idiomatic English. That is how a native speaker would express it. Another instance, I once went to my friend's house in Trivandrum. He was working at the government women's college. So we met in the town and he insisted on coming home and having lunch. But what happened was that his wife was totally unprepared. She didn't expect her husband, neither did she expect her husband, nor did she expect a guest. So he whispered something and then she went into the kitchen, and after half an hour, she invited us to the dining table. She had rustled up a quick meal. It was some heated, some steamed put left over of the breakfast with some kadala curry, Bengal gram curry or chickpeas curry, and then a little bit of noodles that she had boiled quickly and with an egg cracked into it. So that was the lunch. And after chatting with him for half an hour, I went out, and when she came to the door to see me off, I said, thank you for that lunch. Now, I knew that she was an MA in English, and she was doing research in folklore. She was not interested in taking up a teaching job. She was looking forward to a job in the folklore society. So I knew that she was an MA in English. I said, "Thank you for that lunch." And her immediate response was, "Oh, that wasn't much of a lunch. That wasn't much of a lunch." Now, normally, people who do not have an idiomatic command of the language would say, "Oh, that was not a grand lunch," or "that was not a very nice lunch, a very good lunch," or something. But since she had an idiomatic command of the language, this was what she said. That is, "Oh, that wasn't much of a lunch." Now, here too, in both cases, the meaning is conveyed. That was not a good lunch, and that wasn't much of a lunch. Both convey the same meaning, but the latter one, that wasn't much of uh, a lunch, that is much more idiomatic. Now, here, if your English is idiomatic, your English will be considered good English. If you speak in a non-idiomatic way, you will be able to convey your ideas, but that won't be good English. So if you want your English written as well as spoken, if you want it to be considered good, then your English should be idiomatic. Should. Now, how do we go about acquiring an idiomatic command of the language? How can we build an idiomatic style of English? You may be wondering. As I said earlier, with regard to the study of a language, I said expose yourself as much as possible to the language. And I said the best method is reading. In order to acquire an idiomatic style, the best way is to read, read, and read. As I told you, when we read, we are able to go over the lines again. When we watch a film or when we see something on the TV, we soon forget it. But when we are reading, we are able to run our eyes over the lines again and again and grasp the style, the way things are put, and thus we'll be able to cultivate an idiomatic style. So the more we read, the more we are exposed to a language, we'll be able to, the better are our chances of picking up an idiomatic style. Idiomatic English is, what is meant by it is containing, using, or denoting expressions that are natural to the native speakers of English. So it's not only the use of phrases and idioms, but the way these are connected, the way these are presented. I gave two examples of idiomatic English. The first was the lady telling the girl, "You will pick up all the dust on it." And the second one was, "It wasn't much of a lunch." Now, in both these short sentences, there's no idiom involved. There's no phrase involved. So please don't be under the misunderstanding that idiomatic English means the use of idioms. Idiomatic means it should sound the way a native English speaker would speak. That is what is meant by idiomatic English. Thank you, Mr. Joy. Just a little bit to add to what I said. Only when one's style is idiomatic will it sound English. Otherwise, there will be an un-English sound about it. It should sound natural. I think I once spoke about an incident in this group while attending a valuation camp at Calicut. A teacher, he was from Tamil Nadu, he was working in a private college in Kerala, and he brought out a guide to some text, and he distributed sample copies to all of us. And during the lunch break, while going through them, I found that there was something wrong with it. It was like having a jeep trip on a dirt track on a bumpy road. The English was not smooth, it was not easy flowing. And then one of my teachers, who was sitting beside me, he was my chief examiner then, he remarked, see, George, this guide just proves that a correct grammar and a good vocabulary alone will not constitute good English. Correct grammar and a wide ranging vocabulary alone will not constitute good English. There is something else that is needed. As I said, the paint that we apply after building a huge structure to give it beauty, to make it sound English, there is something else that we need. That is, it has to be idiomatic. So that is what I meant by idiomatic style, and not the overuse of idioms and phrases. If we lack idiomatic style, what happens is that it will sound un-English, it will sound bookish. Thank you.